Folks, you can wake up out of your coma. You can rake the eye boogers out of your eyes. You can get up, stretch out. We're finally out of hibernation because the UFC is back this week. Let's go. So yes, the UFC is back, and they're doing it in a pretty fun way, man. They have Fight Island. They have January 16th, January 20th, and January 23rd, which you guys already know we're going to be reacting to live. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, number 2. But today we're here to talk about January 16th, and specifically the main event of January 16th's card. That is Max Holloway, the former 145-pound champion of the world, possibly one of the best 145-pound fighters to ever live. He's taking on Calvin, the Boston finisher, Kattar. This fight's fun for a lot of reasons. Max Holloway is kind of in that area where he's in limbo because he's lost 2 straight to the champion. The first one I thought was debatable. The second, I thought he flat out won. And you have Calvin Kattar coming off 2 wins where he looked ferocious. Obviously, the win over W.A.D.E, the big elbow over Jeremy Stephens we're going to talk about in a second. So let's break down the main events of UFC Fight Island, January 16th. Calvin Kattar, Max Holloway. Let's go. All right, so put simply, this main event is a battle of attrition between 2 high-level strikers that output crazy volume and have great takedown defense. The differences are very small but noticeable. Max Holloway has a very specific volume striking pace where he will start very slow and he will measure you. And then as the fight goes on, as we get into rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, the pace will pick up, and it will pick up drastically, and it doesn't stop. He is throwing flurries continuously, and he's switching stance, and he's got this long reach, so when he does switch stance, he keeps touching you. Ask Brian Ortega about the sheer volume that Max Holloway throws and how over a fight, no matter how hard the punches are, they're going to accumulate, and at some point, you can't continue to defend yourself or you can't take any more of them. He's just got that kind of volume. And on the other hand, Calvin Kattar has great volume too, but again, a measured approach early. This is where the similarities are, but you're going to see harder shots from Calvin Kattar, especially early. He's going to look to throw some power shots early on. He uses that long-range boxing then to come in and land that hellacious elbow that you saw him land against Jeremy Stephens. All that was set up off the framing of that lead hand. And Calvin Kattar can frame with that lead hand, and Jeremy Stephens actually throws a pretty nice right hand over the top, but Calvin Kattar meets that velocity coming forward with an elbow of his own, and it leads to all-out destruction. He is a finisher. He is someone that can put guys away early. He can be there for the 5-round duration, beating you up like he did to W.A.D.E. Now Max Holloway, the former champion, the guy that just overwhelms you with pace, volume, and pressure. Not to say that Calvin Kattar doesn't present pressure and try to take center of the octagon and use those hands from there. But Max Holloway does things a little different. For one, both guys are very patient early on, but as the rounds go further, Max continues to touch you, just pepper you with shots. This will be an interesting fight because the way Max usually fights is as the taller, longer, rangier fighter, but in this case, it is Calvin Kattar. I still think Max will utilize a lot of the straight punches and again, the switching of stance to attack from distance. But what Max does so well is his weaponized pace. We all know this. It's his ability to continue to pressure you round after round. And as you get into those 3rd, 4th, and 5th, when you just can't hold your hands up, Brian Ortega said he couldn't hold his hands up anymore after Max just continued to hit him, continued to pepper him with shots, switch stance, and then come back and pepper him with more shots. There was no back foot. Even when Ortega would land a shot, Max would acknowledge it and then keep moving forward. And Brian Ortega is one of the scariest dudes in that division. So let's talk about disadvantages. Obviously, Max Holloway in the last couple of fights with Volkanovski, they're so razor thin that it's hard to nitpick things. If you're going to, it's the fact that Max is sometimes a little too patient early on, trying to look for that shot, trying to look for that opening, and then obviously trying to pour it on later in the fight. I think the biggest weakness or flaw in Max's game is that when he's had power punchers, guys like Dustin Poirier, even Alexander Volkanovski to a certain degree, even though Volk is very short, and obviously the reach advantage was helping Max out a lot in that fight, being able to touch Volkanovski. But the 2 things you've seen Max have trouble with are the leg kicks that Volkanovski hit him with, and the ability of a power puncher going backward or moving forward to counter Max Holloway when he's, starting to ramp up that volume. You saw Dustin Poirier do that in their interim title fight at 155. And then you saw, again, Alexander Volkanovski hit him with some big shots after the leg kicks in their fights. So those are the 2 things, and Calvin Kattar does possess the ability to be a power puncher and make Max pay for coming in and throwing shots and staying in the pocket and continuing that volume pressure. The pull counter could be there for a guy like Calvin Kattar, who does absolutely crack, and he can put you down. So that would be the weaknesses, in my opinion, for Max Holloway. For Calvin Kattar, the weaknesses I see are that when he does face a volume striker, because we've seen him face a volume striker before, and it's Renato Moicano, a guy that just stayed in his face the whole time, was output. He outstruck him 116-41 over a 3-round fight, and Renato just kept touching him. and Calvin could not get going and come back with anything, and he couldn't sustain any type of offense, so Renato Moicano continued to pepper him with shots round after round. And if you're going to look at parallels between the two, it's that they're volume pressure forward strikers, whereas Calvin Kattar sometimes will take the back step and allow guys to come into his range and then try to look for the big counter shot. So if I'm Calvin Kattar, you have to get Max's respect early in this fight. You have to be able to hit him with shots that are going to interrupt his volume, right? You're going to have to hit him with interrupt shots, counter shots that stop all the flurry, and you can start to implement offense. You got to obviously get his respect with the leg kicks. If there was anything we saw from the first Volkanovski and Holloway fight, it's that Max did not like the leg kicks and didn't adjust very well to them. Didn't really check a lot of them, continued to try to walk through them. It ended up being part of his demise early on in that fight, whereas Max did come on later in the fight. But at the end of the day, these are two very high-level strikers. Both guys really concentrate in that boxing realm where they love to kind of mix it up with the hands. Between the two, I would say that Max Holloway is the better volume striker. Calvin Kattar has great timing, especially with his counter shots. You're going to see this go on for a long period. I think this could even go all 5, and we could have a decision here. And if that is the case, I think Max Holloway comes out with a decision because, again, his style mirrors perfectly to the weaknesses of Calvin Kattar, which are when you have a guy that's as equally skilled with the hands and with the stand-up, and he starts pushing pace on you. Again, Zabit kind of did the same stuff, even though Zabit is a whole different animal, and he has so many different tools in that toolbox, and that guy might hold the belt literally by the end of the year. When you have a guy like Max Holloway who continues to just pepper you with shots, and we've seen it's not like Max Holloway's getting worse. In fact, like I said, I thought he won his last fight. I thought he should still be the rightful champion at 145 pounds, but Calvin Kattar is stepping into a new class here. He's only fought the level of a Max Holloway once, and again, it was a beat Magomed Shapirov. So you're stepping into championship level here. Again, over 5 rounds, Max Holloway's a nightmare. And if you just allow him to continue his pace round after round, it's going to be a long night for you. For Calvin Kattar to win this fight, I think he either needs a stoppage or he needs to rock Max Holloway in multiple rounds, somewhat of the Dustin Poirier game plan where Max is continuing that volume. Boom, big shot over the top, stumbles Max, wobbles him, and then you pounce on him from there. Even if he takes one from Max, again, it's not like Max doesn't hit hard, but he is more volume striker, so if you take one to get inside and land one of those nasty elbows, that could definitely change the fight. So it's time for my pick, huh? I gotta go with Max Holloway by decision. I have to. I don't know if there's a lot that Calvin has that Max hasn't seen or hasn't had to deal with before. Max Holloway's been around the block. He's only 29. I think he wins this fight by decision. I think over the second to third round, we start to see the tide change and Calvin Kattar starts to take the back step, and Max Holloway, not a lot, but enough for Max Holloway to start to put on that flurry. For Max Holloway to go to the body, start getting to the solar plexus of Calvin Kattar, start to get him a little more tired, start to find the little small openings in the guard because these are 4-ounce gloves, and being here, Max Holloway is going to find ways around the guard, through the guard, uppercuts. It's going to be a very back and forth fight. I think both guys are going to have their moments, but I do think Max has more of those moments over a longer period of time. I do think Max blessed Holloway, comes away with the victory, and then shit, man, I don't know what you do with Max after this. He's lost twice against the champion. Do you just throw him back in there for the third time against Alexander Volkanovski? Do you put him against a guy like Zabit? I don't know what you do. You put him in there with Brian Ortega? Who knows? I would like to see that rematch. We got to get through this fight first, and it is not easy for either guy. I'm going Max Holloway by decision. Let me know in the comments who you guys are picking for this fight, and I'm excited. January 16th, 2 weeks straight. All the fights are bangers. UFC is finally back. We're at Fight Island. I'm ready to go. Let's get it started.